A milestone is one of a series of numbered markers placed along a road or boundary at intervals of 1 mile or occasionally, parts of a mile. They are typically located at the side of the road or in a median. They are alternatively known as mile markers, mileposts or mileposts. Mileage is the distance along the road from a fixed commencement point. Milestones are constructed to provide reference points along the road. This can be used to reassure travelers that the proper path is being followed, and to indicate either distance traveled or the remaining distance to a destination. Such references are also used by maintenance engineers and emergency services to direct them to specific points where their presence is required. This term is sometimes used to denote a location on a road even if no physical sign is present. This is useful for accident reporting and other record keeping. History = Roman Empire = Milestones were originally stone obelisks made from granite, marble, or whatever local stone was available and later concrete posts. They were widely used by Roman Empire road builders and were an important part of any Roman road network. The distance traveled per day was only a few miles in some cases. Many Roman milestones only record the name of the reigning emperor without giving any placer names or distances. The first Roman milestones appeared on the Appian Way. At the center of Rome, the Golden Milestone was erected to mark the presumed center of the empire. This milestone has since been lost. The Golden Milestone inspired the Zero Milestone in Washington, D.C., intended as the point from which all road distances in the United States should be reckoned. Odometers were used to measure the Roman milestone spacing, most likely based on ancient Greek technology. Byzantine Empire A mile marker monument, the Million, was erected in the early 4th century AD in Constantinople. It served as the starting point for measurement of distances for all the roads leading to the cities of the Byzantine Empire, and had the same function as the Milarium Aureum of ancient Rome. The Million survived intact until at least the late 15th century. Its fragments were discovered again in the late 1960s. A fragment is re-erected as a pillar. Post-medieval Europe In Europe, the distance measured typically starts at specified point within a city or town, as many roads were named for the towns at either end. For example, in London, United Kingdom, a plaque near the Eleanor Cross at Charing Cross is the reference point from which distances from London to other towns and cities are measured. In the UK, milestones are especially associated with former turnpike roads. The British built many milestones on the island of Malta. They consisted of large slabs of local hard rock and they were engraved with the distance to or from a particular location. Many of these were defaced in World War II to disorientate forces in a potential invasion. Despite this, a very small number of milestones still exist undefaced, and one of these is now in the Malta at War Museum. India The Qos Minars or mile pillars are medieval milestones that were made by the 16th century Afghan ruler Shah Suri and later on by Mughal emperors. These minars were erected by the Mughal emperors on the main highways across the empire to mark the distance. The Qos Minar is a solid round pillar, around 30 feet in height that stands on a masonry platform built with bricks and plastered over with lime. Though not architecturally very impressive, being milestones, they were an important part of communication and travel in a large empire. Qos is an ancient Indian unit of distance. It can represent either a distance of approximately 1.8 kilometers or 3.2 kilometers. Minar is a Persian word for tower. Abul Fazl recorded in Akbarnama that in the year 1575 AD, Akbar issued an order that at every Qos on the way from Agra to Ajmer, a pillar or a minar should be erected for the comfort of the travelers. Modern highways. The historical term milestone is still used today, even though the stones are typically metal highway location markers and in most countries are based on metric rather than imperial units of measure. Also found today are more closely spaced signs containing fractional numbers, and signs along railways, beaches and canals. Australia Metrication in Australia caused the former mile markers to be gradually replaced with 10 km markers on highways and country roads, and even these have been removed from most major highways, with distances to several towns ahead being shown on signboards. Some mile markers are retained as curiosities. Canada usage varies by province, as highways are under provincial jurisdiction. In Alberta, for example, kilometre markers are green metal signs with white lettering, and are generally placed every 4 kilometres starting at the last major intersection to the south or west, depending on whether the route runs north-south or east-west. India Milestones on Indian highways typically have white backgrounds with yellow tops or green tops. The names of cities and distances are painted in black. The names of the nearest towns and cities are written along with distance in kilometers. On undivided highways, both sides of the milestones are used, telling the distance to the nearest cities in each direction. The highway number is written on the head of the milestone. The sum of the distances of 2 nearest cities in each direction from the milestone is listed on the side. United Kingdom In the UK, driver location signs are placed every 100 metres along each side of British motorways, and along some other major roads. They were first introduced in 2003, and they complement distance marker posts. Both types of sign display a unique location number. The number, although given without units, is the distance in kilometers from a designated datum location for the road. United States In the U.S. interstate highway system, the numbers usually measure the distance to the southern or western state line, while other highways may use such a system starting at the terminus to the other terminus. Such numbering may also use the county line as the 0-mile marker. Often, the exits are numbered according to the nearest milepost, known as the mile log system. From the beginning of the interstate system until the mid-2000s, most interstate highways had markers every mile. Since that time, many states have installed markers every 0.2 mile, and in some metro areas, every 0.1 mile. In some states, the U.S. highways also have mile markers, 1 per mile. Some historic and scenic routes are such as along the Blue Ridge Parkway in North Carolina and Virginia, and the Overseas Highway of the Florida Keys are use mileposts to mark points of interest. Zimbabwe Zimbabwean milestones are constructed of cast concrete painted white with the kilometer distance indented and painted black. There is no distinction between state and national road sign markings. They were originally sighted every 500 meters by the Rhodesian Ministry of Roads and Road Traffic, starting at 0 from the largest town or city. In 1980 the Zimbabwean government began placing new markers 1 kilometer apart, and damaged or missing half-kilometer markers were no longer replaced. Railway mileposts. The Railways Clauses Consolidation Act 1845 compels UK railway companies to provide their passengers with a means of determining the distance travelled. Section 94 states, the company shall cause the length of the railway to be measured, and milestones, posts, or other conspicuous objects to be set up and maintained along the whole line thereof, at the distance of 1/4 of a mile from each other, with numbers or marks inscribed thereon denoting such distances. Similar laws were passed in other countries. On the modern railway, these historical markers are still used as infrastructure reference points. At many points, the distances shown on the markers are based upon points no longer on the network. For example, distances measured via a clothesline or from a junction which has subsequently been moved. Whole mileposts are usually supplemented by half and quarter posts. Structure signs often include the mileage to a fair degree of precision. In the UK, a chain is the usual accuracy. In the US and Canada, miles are decimalized, so that, for example, there may be a milepost 4.83 to mark a junction, crossing, bridge or tunnel. In metricated areas, the equivalent is the point-kilometre copyright trick. Boundaries. Surveyors place milestones to mark the boundaries between the jurisdictions separated by borders. A series of such boundary markers exists at 1-mile intervals along the borders of the District of Columbia in the United States. Gallery. United Kingdom. Australia. Denmark. India. Malta. United States. See also. References. External links, Brief History of American Milestone Markers. Stones of Northeastern United States. Retrieved August 24, 2014. Milestone in Ayrshire, Scotland, The Milestone Society UK, Mileposts and Milestones on the Leeds-Liverpool Canal, article in Smith's Dictionary of Greek and Roman Antiquities with further links, including to a photograph of a Roman milestone in Orvieto, Inventory of Roman Milestones in France, Section 2D46 of the U.S. Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, Milestones Gurus, a weblog. Pictures project with only milestones with an equal km point.